This happened about a month ago. I'm 32 now, and I've spent many weekends exploring caves for my freelance writing. I thought I knew what to expect. When I parked my old truck near a cave entrance I hadn't visited before, I felt the atmosphere was different. I didn't think much about it then, but I can't forget what happened. I stepped into the cave. It was dark and damp. The air felt heavy. I pulled out my flashlight and turned it on. The beam lit up the rough walls, and I saw the wet stones glistening. I moved deeper inside, my boots crunching on the gravel. It was quiet. Too quiet for my liking. Just me and the cave. About 20 feet in, I noticed strange etchings on the walls. My heart skipped a beat. They seemed like warnings from previous explorers. I brushed it off. But then an uneasy chill gripped me. The air was getting colder. I shivered, wrapping my arms around myself, feeling the weight of the cave around me. But I kept going deeper, ignoring the growing unease. After a while I heard something. It was a faint whisper. I told myself it was just the wind, but then I heard footsteps. My heart raced. No one should be down here, right? I quickened my pace. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. The cave twisted in ways I couldn't quite grasp. I turned left down one corridor, but something pulled me to the right. I shook my head and went left anyway. I thought I was being silly. I felt someone's eyes on me, but I didn't see anyone. I took a deep breath, trying to calm down. Further in, the shadows flickered like something was moving in the dark corners. I shined my flashlight around, but nothing was there. Panic washed over me. I couldn't tell how long I'd been in there. Was it minutes or hours? I had no clue. Then I heard it again. The whisper. "Get out." I froze. My breath came in short bursts. I couldn't decide whether to run or keep going. I turned around. There was a shadow at the edge of my light. It shifted like it was alive. Suddenly I felt a rush of cold air behind me. I stumbled and hit a rock. "Is anyone there?" I shouted. Silence answered me. I shone the flashlight in all directions, but the cave shifted. I felt trapped. I turned to leave, but couldn't remember which way was out. Every direction looked the same. "Hello?" I called again, panic rising in my throat. Then I heard it, clearer this time. "You're not meant to be here." Things felt wrong. I knew I was alone, but somehow I wasn't. I needed to get out, but where was the exit? I stumbled forward, shining my light desperately. The voice echoed in my mind. I was lost. The only thing I knew was that I had to keep moving. I couldn't shake the familiar dread that I had crossed a line I shouldn't have. And then, just as quickly as it started, the whisper faded into deep silence. I never did find my way out. That experience haunted me, like a dark stain in my mind, reminding me that some places are meant to stay untouched. I woke up that morning feeling heavy. The events of the cave were still fresh in my mind. I sat at my kitchen table staring at a blank notepad. I thought writing about it might ease the weight, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I could hear that whisper again. "You're not meant to be here." A cup of cold coffee sat untouched in front of me, but there was something else gnawing at me. I pulled out my laptop and began searching for information on that particular cave. Maybe there was something I missed. I typed in the name and scrolled through forum after forum until I hit something that caught my eye. A warning about unexplained disappearances associated with that cave. My heart raced. I hadn't seen any warnings about that before. I clicked through a few links and stumbled upon a group of explorers who'd shared their own experiences. Their stories mirrored mine. Shadows that moved, the feeling of being watched, and the whispers that beckoned them deeper. They all ended with an unsettling conclusion. Some never made it back. I felt a shiver crawl up my spine. Maybe my curiosity had led me into something far more dangerous than I ever anticipated. After some time, I found a contact email for one of the explorers. I needed to know more to see if they had insights that could help me understand what I had encountered. I nervously typed out an email detailing my experience, pressing send with a mix of hope and dread. Hours passed. I tried to focus on something else, but the sense of dread lingered. Then suddenly my phone buzzed. It was a reply. "Meet me at the coffee shop on Main Street tomorrow. I have more to share you need to know." The signature read, Sam. A mix of excitement and anxiety coursed through me. Maybe Sam held the answers I was looking for. But what if it was something worse? That night, I barely slept. Memories of the cave swirled in my mind, etched warnings, the whisper, shadows shifting just beyond my sight. I kept thinking about the voice telling me I wasn't meant to be there. What if that was true? What if I had awakened something that should have stayed buried? Morning came, but I felt no relief. I dressed quickly, determination mingling with apprehension. I'd face whatever it was head on. As I drove to the coffee shop, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The streets felt eerily quiet, like the calm before a storm. When I arrived, I spotted Sam at a table in the corner. They looked up as soon as I walked in, and there was a seriousness in their eyes that immediately set me on edge. I approached cautiously. "Thanks for meeting me," I said, forcing a smile. Sam nodded, but the tension hung thick in the air. "You shouldn't have gone in there. You awakened something," they whispered urgently. My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" That's when Sam leaned in closer, their eyes unwavering. "There are things you don't know about that cave. Things that go beyond the stories." Suddenly, I felt the cold rush of air from the cave again, a familiar reminder that I was not out of reach yet. I was about to ask more when the lights flickered, and the cafe plunged into sudden darkness. I turned toward Sam, heart pounding. Then it hit me. This wasn't over. The darkness enveloped us. A chorus of confused voices rose from the cafe's patrons, punctuated by the clattering of chairs. I felt a tightness in my chest as panic edged closer. "What's happening?" I whispered to Sam, who didn't answer right away. Then came the familiar whisper, low and taunting. It curled around me like smoke. "You're not meant to be here." I scanned the dimly lit cafe, heart racing, searching for the source of the words. Should I bolt? The emergency lights flickered on, casting an eerie glow. I caught Sam's eyes, which were wide, fixed on something behind me. I turned but saw only the regular patrons who looked just as confused as I felt. "We need to go," Sam urged, standing abruptly. I jumped up, nodding, and we headed for the door. As we stepped outside, a chill wind swept through the street, sending my hair flying. I felt exposed and unsure of where to run. I searched Sam's expression for guidance. "This way," they said, darting toward an alley next to the cafe. "Why are we running?" I questioned, keeping pace with them. "I can't explain right now. Just trust me," Sam replied, urgency clear in their voice. We merged into the shadows of the alley, where the walls seemed to close in around us. I didn't know what we were running from, but fear had its grip on me. I could still hear the echo of that voice, almost mocking. When we finally stopped, I leaned against the damp brick wall, trying to catch my breath. Sam glanced around, scanning the dark. "Listen, what I was going to tell you at the cafe," they began hesitantly. The whispering pulsed again, more insistent this time. "You're not meant to be here." I covered my ears, trying to drown it out. It was suffocating. "Make it stop," I yelled, but Sam didn't seem to hear me. "Some explorers don't just lose their way. They lose something much worse," Sam continued. "We think they awaken the defenses of the cave. Something doesn't want intruders." A frenzy of emotions surged through me. Anger, fear, confusion. What does that even mean? People think caves are just holes in the ground, but they can be alive in their own way. They don't want you there. It hit me like a bucket of cold water. I had been drawn there. The whispers had lured me deeper. "How do you know this?" I asked, trying to understand. Sam's eyes widened in response. Because I'm one of those people who didn't make it back unscathed, I went into the cave myself. I heard the same whispers, felt the same pull. I thought I was fine until I returned to my life. Something followed me. Chills gripped my spine. Followed you. Sometimes they don't let you leave. Before I could respond, a figure slipped into the alley, silhouetted against the faint light from the street. My breath caught in my throat. "Sam," I whispered, panic rising again. We ducked further into the shadows, listening as the footsteps approached. My heart raced with dread. I needed answers, but now I needed to survive. That's when I saw it, an outline just beyond the light watching us. I felt a sense of hopelessness wash over me as the whispers grew louder, overlapping into a chaotic chorus of despair. "Run!" Sam shouted, yanking my arm. But I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was hunting us was closer than we dared to believe. We sprinted down the alley, breathless, the cold air stinging my lungs. The footsteps behind us grew louder, echoing like a siren. My mind raced. What could be pursuing us? I dared not look back. Sam kept pulling me forward, their grip firm despite the panic etched on their face. Suddenly, we came to a dead end. My heart dropped. A towering brick wall loomed ahead, unyielding. "What now?" I gasped, glancing around desperately for an escape route. "There's a way through," Sam said, pointing to a narrow opening between the bricks. "We can climb." "Climb? Are you crazy?" I protested, my mind still racing with fear. The whispers had turned into a maddening din, scratching at my insides. It felt as if I was being torn apart by the very sound. I hesitated, but Sam's eyes urged me on. "Just go. I'll follow." I threw myself at the opening, wedging my body into the tight space. My hands scraped against the rough surface, but I didn't care. I just needed to get through. As I pulled myself through, I heard the footsteps get closer. Once through, I hit the ground hard on the other side. I looked up, spotting Sam next. "Come on," I shouted, willing them to hurry. They squeezed into the opening, scrambling through as the whispers crescendoed to a piercing scream that rattled my bones. Just then, I caught an unsettling glimpse of a shadow at the alley's entrance. It paused, then stepped into the faint light, revealing a face twisted with malice. "Sam," I shouted, terror coursing through me, but instead of hesitating, they slid down beside me with a look of urgency. "Keep moving," Sam insisted, and we took off again. We stumbled into a nearby street. The night felt thick, eerie, as if it were alive. A sudden noise caught my attention. A howl, sharp and mournful, echoed off the buildings. My blood ran cold. Was that part of the whispering, or something else entirely? "We need to get to my place," Sam urged, looking around as if danger lurked in every corner. "They can't follow us in there." "Who? What are you talking about?" "No time. Just trust me." Sam shot back, dragging me into another alley. With every step, I felt the weight of unseen eyes on us. I kept glancing over my shoulder, waiting for the shadow from before to reappear. "What if it comes after us?" I whispered, my voice trembling. "Then we fight. I won't let it take you. Not like it took me," Sam said fiercely, but the fear lingered in their eyes. I didn't know what that meant, but their resolve gave me some comfort. Together we pushed onward, weaving through the maze of alleys. Just as we rounded a corner, a figure stepped out from the shadows. I froze. The man from before. He now stood at the entrance of the alley, close enough that I could make out the chaotic thrill in his gaze, the hunger lurking beneath the surface. "Why are you running?" he asked with a smirk, his voice smooth yet menacing. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me, clenching my stomach. "Sam, what do we do?" I murmured, panic rising like bile. But before Sam could respond, the whispers surged again, drowning out the moment. "You're not meant to be here." Then everything went dark. I jolted awake, gasping for air. The world around me was shrouded in darkness, but I could feel the cold ground beneath me. My pulse raced as I blinked, trying to orient myself. Where was I? I could hear Sam's heavy breathing nearby. "Sam?" My voice was a hoarse whisper, barely breaking through the stillness. "I'm here," they replied, a hint of relief in their voice. "We're okay. For now." I strained my eyes, trying to see anything in the dark. The wall from before was no longer in front of us. Instead, I noticed the faint outline of a tunnel stretching out ahead. The air was damp, thick with the earthiness of the underground. I shivered. "What happened?" I asked, feeling the weight of fear settle back upon me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching us. "I think we lost him," Sam said slowly. "When we fell through, we ended up in the old drainage system. You okay?" A knot formed in my stomach. The old drainage system? I had heard stories. "We shouldn't be here. This place is dangerous." "We don't have a choice," Sam shot back, urgency seeping into their tone. "There's no way back. We need to move." Reluctantly, I nodded. With trembling legs, I pushed myself up and followed Sam deeper into the tunnel. Each step felt heavy with uncertainty. The silence pressed down on me. The only sounds were our footsteps and the distant trickle of water. As we ventured further in, a soft glow appeared ahead. My heart raced. "What is that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Stay close," Sam said. Their eyes locked on the light. We moved forward, the glow slowly brightening. It revealed a cavern filled with strange markings on the walls, symbols I didn't recognize. I felt an uneasy tension in the air, as if the very rocks were alive, watching us. Then I saw it, an object glowing faintly, half buried in dirt. A small, ornate box nestled in the shadows of the cavern wall. It seemed out of place, almost unnatural. "Sam, look at that." "What?" they asked, instinctively stepping closer. Before I could respond, a chilling wind rushed through the cavern, fluttering the papers scattered around the box. They whispered as if trying to communicate. The noise curled around my heart, squeezing it tighter. "That's not right," Sam muttered, stepping back. I felt the air shift around us, heavy with an endless dread. Maybe we shouldn't touch it, but I couldn't look away. Something about the box called to me, a strange mixture of fear and curiosity. I took another step closer, heart racing. What if it's important? What if... Suddenly a loud clang echoed through the tunnel, startling us both. The box shifted slightly as if responding to the sound. "Run!" Sam shouted, pulling at my arm, dragging me back. But it was too late. The whispers intensified, a swirling wind billowing through the tunnel, carrying with it a sense of urgency and warning. I realized whatever was inside that box was not meant to be disturbed, and now we had awakened it. As we stumbled backward, the light flickered, and something shifted in the darkness behind us. My breath caught in my throat. "What is that?" I yelled, panic spilling over like a flooded dam. And then from the shadows, a figure emerged, its eyes glowing eerily in the half-light. The air crackled with a tension that made every hair on my body stand on end. I realized then that our fight for survival was far from over. We had awakened something ancient, and it wanted us back. I stumbled backward, Sam's grip tightening on my arm as we both took in the figure before us. It was tall, cloaked in shadows, and its eyes blazed with a fierce light. I could barely breathe. My mind raced, searching for any rational explanation for what stood before us. "Stay behind me," Sam urged, their voice steadier than mine. But the resolve in their eyes betrayed the fear we both felt. I nodded, but it felt like a pathetic attempt to gain control. We were in an underground labyrinth, facing something we didn't understand. The whispers swirled around us, a cacophony of warnings and ancient secrets. Each one felt charged with something sinister. The figure moved, gliding forward with a grace that was both mesmerizing and terrifying. I strained to make out details, a face, features, anything that could ground this moment in reality. But the shadows clung to it like a veil, refusing to reveal what lay beneath. Who are you?" I managed to stammer, each word feeling like a pebble tossed into an abyss. For a moment, silence reigned. Then the figure spoke, its voice deep and resonant, echoing off the walls. "You awakened the Keeper." I blinked, my breath hitching in my throat. The Keeper. It didn't sound good. Sam squeezed my hand, their pulse quickening just like mine. "We didn't mean to," I said quickly, trying to sound more brave than I felt. "We were just exploring." "Exploring?" The Keeper's laughter was low, an unsettling sound that sent chills down my spine. "You stumbled into a sacred space, intruders in a world beyond your comprehension." I tore my eyes away from the glowing gaze, trying to think. "What do you want with us?" "No one leaves without paying a price," the Keeper replied, its eyes narrowing. Panic surged within me. "What kind of price?" The Keeper stepped closer, and I felt the air grow even colder. "You will serve as my guides, until the time comes to fulfill your purpose." "What purpose?" Sam asked, voice wavering. But before the Keeper could answer, a loud roar echoed through the tunnel. The ground shook beneath our feet, and the echoes of distant footsteps reverberated, signaling that something else was coming. "I do not have time for this," the Keeper hissed, its form shifting slightly, revealing hints of its true enormity. "You have awakened me, and now you must trust the darkness." "Trust it?" I yelled, heart pounding. "We can't trust anything down here." The Keeper turned its gaze back to the shadows. "You will understand. Soon, you will all understand." As the shadows loomed closer, I felt a sense of dread wrapping around me. I glanced at Sam, who looked just as terrified. "Run!" I yelled, breaking free from their grip. Instinct kicked in as we sprinted away from the figure, our footsteps pounding against the cold earth. Behind us, the Keeper's laughter chased us down the tunnel, echoing and twisting in the darkness. In that moment, every turn felt like a risk, leading us either to salvation or deeper into the abyss. I could almost feel the air thickening, wrapping around us with each frantic step. We had to escape whatever this was before it consumed us whole. That's when I saw it, a flicker of light ahead beckoning us forward. But even in my frantic desperation, I knew this wasn't the end. Turning toward the light was just the first choice in a dangerous game we never asked to play. I darted toward the light, pulling Sam along behind me. The glow felt warm, a stark contrast to the frigid gloom of the tunnel. But as we ran, I couldn't shake the feeling that it was a trap. Still, there was no choice but to push forward. As we reached the light, it revealed a vast cavern, the walls shimmering with what looked like crystals embedded in the stone. The atmosphere shifted, becoming electric. I stopped to take it all in, my mind racing. "This place is incredible," I said, breathless. "Yeah, but where are we?" Sam replied, still glancing back at the dark passage like a deer caught in headlights. We stepped into the cavern, the light pulsating softly. It seemed to breathe, almost alive. In the distance, I noticed figures etched into the walls, strange symbols and ancient drawings. They looked like warnings, but I didn't know the language or the stories behind them. "What do you think they mean?" Sam asked, squinting at the images. I shrugged, uncertain. I wanted to believe they held the key to our situation, but all I felt was an overwhelming sense of foreboding. Then I noticed something moving in the cavern. Shadows flickered across the walls, creating the illusion of more figures watching us. It was disorienting. I took a step back, but something behind me crunched underfoot, a shattered piece of crystal. The sound echoed loudly in the cavern, and suddenly the shadows grew darker. I turned to Sam, panic rising. "Did you hear that?" Before Sam could reply, the light flickered violently, plunging us into semi-darkness. The warmth evaporated, replaced by a chilling wind that rushed through the cavern. "We need to get out of here," I shouted. As I scanned for a way out, a deep growl reverberated off the walls. My heart raced as I realized the sound was coming from the shadows. I felt like prey. They were closing in around us. "We can't go back. The keeper will be there," Sam shouted, desperation lacing their voice. "Then we'll find another way." I grabbed Sam's arm and started moving toward a narrow passage at the far end of the cavern. It was perilously close to the shadows, but staying here felt more dangerous. As we approached the passage, the growling escalated into more growls, like a chorus of beasts stirring. My mind raced. What kind of creatures lay hidden in that darkness? I hesitated, but Sam tugged at my shirt. "Please, let's go." That's when a huge shadow lunged from the dark, its form almost too large to comprehend. I stumbled back, pulling Sam with me as claws swiped just inches from my face. "Run! Now!" I yelled, adrenaline pumping through my veins. We dashed into the narrow opening, the growls fading behind us but echoing in my mind. What were those things? What wicked secrets hid in the depths of the cavern? We burst through the passage into another tunnel, panting and wide-eyed. I felt the weight of our choices pressing down hard. The keeper had said we'd have to trust the darkness. I gritted my teeth, realizing we had little choice but to keep moving deeper into the unknown. But then I heard it again, the sound of footsteps. This time not just echoes. Someone, or something, was following us. I turned to Sam, dread blooming in my chest. "We're not alone." The footsteps grew louder, echoing through the narrow tunnel. My heart raced, each beat a reminder of how close we were to danger. I turned and squeezed Sam's arm. "We need to keep moving." "Shouldn't we hide?" Sam whispered, glancing back nervously. "No. We can't give whatever's behind us a chance to catch up." The urgency in my voice felt foreign, even to me. I was scared, much more than I wanted to admit. We pressed forward, our breathing echoing in the confined space. I focused on the shadows dancing against the walls, hoping they were just that. Shadows. But what if they weren't? Anxiety gnawed at me as I fought to push doubt out of my mind. Suddenly we reached a fork in the tunnel. The left passage looked less worn, the right one appeared darker and loomed like a gaping mouth. "Which way?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I think we should take the left one." Sam glanced back again, eyebrows furrowed. I hesitated, sensing the pull of instinct. "All right, let's go." We turned left and continued, but every sound made my skin prickle. The footsteps seemed to fade, only to be replaced by a soft rustling that sent chills down my spine. Just then, the tunnel opened into a small chamber. A faint glow illuminated the space, and I recognized it. More crystals, but these seemed to pulse with a life of their own. They sat perched across the floor, gathered in sharp-edged formations. I felt drawn to them, despite my better judgment. "Are those—" Sam started, but I interrupted. "Let's not touch anything." I felt a strange sense of déjà vu. The way the crystals gleamed made me uneasy, as if they were waiting for something. Suddenly, a low growl echoed from the direction we came. My stomach dropped. "We need to hide," I whispered, urgently scanning the chamber. There were a few large rocks in the corner. They could work. I yanked Sam toward them, crouching low behind the largest boulder. "What if it finds us?" Sam whispered, panic creeping into their voice. "We stay quiet. Maybe it will pass us by." I held my breath, straining to hear. The growl intensified, reverberating off the walls with a disturbing resonance. My heart raced, and I felt the air grow heavy with tension. Then everything went eerily silent. I could barely hear my own breaths. The crystals around us seemed to dim, absorbing all light. I leaned closer to Sam, trying to steady both our hearts. What was happening? And just like that, a shadow emerged from the tunnel entrance, stopping just before the chamber. A horrifying silhouette took shape, its eyes glinting in the dim light. It was massive, a creature I had never seen before. Muscles rippled beneath its dark fur, and its jagged silhouette resembled more of a nightmare than any animal I knew. I froze. Would it smell us? Would it sense our fear? Before I could think any further, the creature let out a deafening roar that shook the chamber. "Run!" I whispered, adrenaline surging. But as I turned to grab Sam's hand, Sam had already vanished into the shadows. "Sam!" I called, panic rising once more. My heart raced as the beast shifted, locking its gaze on me, and I realized I was all alone. That's when I saw it. A glint on the ground where Sam had been standing, something shining just outside the shadows. Was it a clue, or just a cruel trick of the cavern? Whatever it was, I had to find Sam and face whatever dangers lay ahead. I couldn't leave Sam behind, not when the creature was still lurking. With a swift glance back at the shadowy entrance, I bolted toward the glint. The thing on the floor sparkled softly, revealing itself as a small pendant. It swung gently, catching fragments of light from the crystals above. "What does this mean?" I murmured, holding it in my palm. I felt unease coil in my stomach. There was something familiar about it, but I couldn't place it. Maybe it was important to Sam. As I turned, ready to call out for them again, the growl erupted once more. It was closer this time. I could feel the vibrations in the air. I wasted no time. Clutching the pendant like a lifeline, I raced deeper into the cavern, hoping it would lead me to Sam. The further I went, the thicker the shadows became. The chamber I had escaped felt like a distant memory. I pressed forward, my nerves on high alert. Each sound made me jump, fluttering echoes that could have been anything from a distant scream to the rustling of wings. Suddenly, a beam of light broke through the darkness ahead. I squinted, desperately trying to discern what lay beyond. As I approached, I could see it was another chamber, larger than the last. My heart lifted slightly. Maybe Sam was here. I stepped inside, scanning the room, but my hope quickly fizzled. This space was covered with strange, twisting roots that seemed to pulse and move. They coiled around the walls like living tendrils, and in the center, I spotted a small lit orb hovering, bathing the room in a soft glow. Before I could assess it further, another sound pierced the tension, the unmistakable sound of clawed feet scraping against stone. The beast was getting closer. "Sam!" I shouted, my voice echoing off the walls. There was no response, just the sound of my own racing heartbeat and the ominous growling that seemed to surround me like a suffocating fog. I backed against one of the twisted roots, peering around, waiting, hoping for any sign of my friend. That's when the glowing orb flickered and dimmed momentarily. Was it reacting to the noise? Or was it a warning? I considered my options, adrenaline surging again. Should I make a run for it or try another way? As I contemplated, something dropped from above, landing near the orb with a soft thud. My breath caught as I realized it was another pendant, identical to the one I had found earlier. It glimmered eerily, as if it had been waiting for someone to find it. I picked it up, my mind racing. That's when I heard it, a low rumble that seemed to vibrate the very ground beneath me. The creature was here. I could feel its presence, heavy and ominous. "Sam!" I cried again, urgency cracking in my voice. Decision time. I had to either confront this nightmare head-on or keep searching blindly. My hands trembled as I held both pendants, knowing this might be the last choice I ever made. And then, just as the growl escalated into a roar, the lights flickered off entirely, plunging me into darkness. I stood frozen, heart pounding. What now? Would I face the creature alone, or would I find Sam waiting in the dark? The tension hovered, thick and electric, as I awaited the next horrifying turn of events. Suddenly the darkness was shattered by a blinding flash of light, illuminating the cavern and revealing the creature in all its terrifying glory. It loomed ahead, twisted and monstrous, its eyes glistening with hunger. My breath hitched in my throat as I clutched the pendants tightly, feeling their warmth against my palm. I had two choices. I could either scream and run, or face whatever lay ahead. The instinct to flee clashed with the desperate hope that I might find Sam again. Before I could decide, I took a step forward, ready to confront the beast. "Leave us alone," I shouted, surprising even myself with the ferocity in my voice. The creature halted, its gaze piercing through me, and for a moment the chamber fell silent, save for the echoes of my heartbeat. My heart raced, but I felt emboldened by the pendants in my hands, a strange sense of purpose igniting in my chest. With both pendants in hand, I moved closer, feeling the energy in the chamber shift. As I approached the glowing orb, I noticed it pulsing in rhythm with the two glimmering pendants. I didn't know what would happen if I brought them together, but I was desperate enough to try. "Sam!" I yelled, praying my friend was close that they could hear me. "I need you!" Just then, the growling grew louder, reverberating through the chamber. I could see the creature getting ready to pounce. With no time to lose, I pressed the pendants against the glowing orb. The cavern erupted with a blinding light, the energy swirling violently. The orb responded, absorbing the pendants and casting radiant beams across the room, illuminating even the darkest corners. The roots shivered and the shadows shrank back, as if the light was weakened their hold. In the commotion, I could have sworn I heard a familiar voice cutting through the chaos, a whisper beneath the growl that was both haunting and comforting. "Trust it." Could that have been Sam? Time felt ethereal now, stretching and contracting as the light pulsed, thrumming in sync with my racing heart. The creature hesitated, recoiling from the brilliance, but I wasn't sure if it was fear or confusion. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever it represented was also part of me. "What do you want from us?" I yelled again, my voice rising above the din. But there was no answer, only more growls, more shadows inching back toward the light. Fighting the terror, I stepped closer to the orb, feeling a pull, as though it wanted to tell me something. Deep within, I realized, the keeper was right. I had unsealed something that shouldn't be disturbed. As the shadows shimmered around us, I resolved to embrace this darkness. I focused and allowed the fear to meld with the light, understanding now that balance was essential. "Help us!" I shouted into the brilliance. "Help us find Sam!" At that moment, the light exploded, filling the cavern and enveloping me, burning away the shadows. The air thickened as tendrils of a darker essence began to spiral around the creature. It roared again, but this time it was laced with confusion. And then, I felt it, a surge of warmth behind me, like a long-lost friend returning. I turned, breathless, and there was Sam, their eyes wide with the same awe and trepidation that mirrored my own. "Together!" they shouted, rushing towards me where I stood by the orb. In an instant, the cold rush of urgency between us solidified. We raised the pendants together, letting them absorb the brilliance of the orb as it hummed in approval. What felt like both an eternity and a heartbeat later, the creature let out one final roar filled with uncertainty before dissolving into shadows, leaving behind only silence. The pull of the darkness slackened, and for the first time, a quietness enveloped the cavern. Breathless, I collapsed to the ground, exhaustion crashing through me. Sam stood beside me, panting and wide-eyed with disbelief. Did we just do that? I think we did. My voice was shaky, the reality of what had just happened washing over me in waves. As the light settled into a gentle glow, I began to understand that we'd faced a choice between the light and the darkness. Not only for ourselves, but for something deeper that had lived in this cave long before we ever found it. But as we took stock of our surroundings, the cavern that had trapped us before felt somehow different. The shadows were still present, lurking in corners, and even the whispers remained, albeit faintly. "Do you think it's really over?" Sam asked, the uncertainty reflecting in their eyes. I shook my head slowly, feeling the weight of unanswered questions. "I don't know, but we're alive, and that has to count for something." We clasped the pendants tightly, a reminder of our shared struggle, but there was still that nagging feeling that our encounter with the Keeper might not be the last. Everything had changed in those underground depths, even if I couldn't fully comprehend how yet. As we stepped back into the light of the emerging dawn, I couldn't shake the thought that while we had escaped the cave, the echoes of the darkness would always linger, like a shadow we couldn't fully escape.